Hello. These are my squats, my pride and joy. And this is Galen from Galen's got Parkinson's. I like them. Some of them I've had for years. Since late 80s, mid 80s. Some are not even official squats. And I've put most of those on the back shelf, apart from a commander. And I'm going to point to him now with an attractive digit. Oh, there he is. I suppose what I should really do is replace him with her, because she's not an official squat either. But so I've got my squat team down at the bottom, and as I say, they're chaps I've used for years. Those of you who now know their squats will recognise them. I've made a few modifications. There's a lad right in the middle, and he's got a communicator, and I've given him a sort of futuristic toolbox so that in Stargrave he can be my hacker and break into computers and locks and things. And then next to him, and I've turned him around so you can see all the detail, that's an ordinary squat, but I've stuck on anything I could find in my bits box. So he's got pickaxes, shovels, he's got a mug, he's got a lantern, he's got all sorts of things. I've turned him back, look, you can see that's what he looked like when I started. And he is the sort of engineering, breaking into things type chap. And then along the back, I've got a random dwarf lady, because it struck me my crew was very masculine, and I don't think that matters with your squats, but I wanted them to have a mellowing influence, shall we say. Next to them, I've got a halfling sniper. I got him from the front of a magazine. Would it be Miniature Wargaming? Are they called something like Fleet Feet? It's a relatively newish game. The middle lady is a 3D female dwarf captain, and I thought that would be good to have a fighting lady. And have you noticed, my daughter's noticed, my daughter's a wargamer, if you're a lady and you want to buy female warriors, they're always big girls with all the bits hanging out. She's a proper looking fighter, discreetly attired, looking smart, and smoking a pipe, as I'm sure she would. Next to her is a random sci-fi adventurer. I've no idea where I got him from, but he's got armour, but he's got a pistol, and I think he's got a telescope. If you know who he is, put a comment in the comments section. Maybe you fancy subscribing. And then right at the end, I've got another one of those fleet feet, and he's cooking them up some eggs. And just for fun, I've given him a flask and a tea towel in his other hand. So yeah, that's them. That's my squats. I use them for role plays. I use them for Fallout. I use them for 5 Parsecs, Traveller, random encounters in various games, Stargrave. They are versatile. They have an entire ship. I've been charting their progress through space. When I started with them in the new game, I thought, well, you start off with a relatively small team, and over time and experience and finances, you can build up a bigger team. So I thought, well, what I'll do is they've got to have a job. You need to earn money. So I decided, and it was my decision, there were no dice thrown. I was playing on my own, and nobody to talk to about it. What they were going to do was they'd all work together on space freighters and decided they'd earned enough to buy a rickety old banger of a space freighter and set themselves up in business, which is what they did. And So I wanted a job for them, and I decided they worked for a university in 5 parsecs, the overriding command group, the sort of owners, like the Empire in Star Wars, are called Unity. So there's a university on a Unity planet, and they were hired to provide sort of military escorts, bringing back artifacts. Then, again in parsecs, great game because you can play it on your own. You just throw a dice and have a look what it says, and then work out what you think that means. And amongst all the various squabbles and good bits and bad bits, they learnt there was a discovery. You made a discovery. So I thought, well, it's daft me making the discovery, so I'll have the archaeologists make the discovery. And I wanted the discovery to start my adventure. So I decided that if you're looking for Warhammer, some of you listening to this who've survived as long as this, but listening to me, know Warhammer better than me. But my understanding is the squats live on a fairly isolated home world that is then destroyed when a Tyrannid behemoth ship deposits loads of Tyrannids on the planet and it kills them all. So there were no squats for a while in 40,000. I know there was a guy in Necromunda, and they're bringing them back now, aren't they? Because they've seen sense and they realise that squats are awesome. But they're not calling them squats, but they should. So, and they're all meant to be died out. And my lads are the sort of remnants of families who have set my game in 41,000, not 40,000. So 1,000 years ago, these families were part of the Warhammer universe. But that was a long time ago. And these guys have spread out to parts of the universe where squats really didn't exist at the time of 40,000 in my game. But they discover in the ruins of this archaeological site that it's actually a squat temple. And it has gods and tablets and books all related to the squat home planet, but it shouldn't be there because they're in a different universe. And so now my story becomes why, what's happened, how, and that's where we're at. So, and as time's gone by, the team's grown and grown and grown, and now the team is this big. So I thought you might be just interested, if nothing else. And the reason why I'm not popping up in front and pointing at things and making funny faces is because I felt those of you who were Warhammer people, either past or present, or fans or figures or old figures or the evolution of figures, might just like to see some old squats just stood without my ugly mug in the way, spoiling it. I hope I'm right. Have a great time. Ta-ra, Chuck!